Here in the south of Cambodia, the local serpent princess was subdued by and married to an Indian priest. From this union was born the Khmer people, and implicit in their origin story is human reason's conquest of nature. In the 4 centuries through which that conquest flourished, to the point that it conceived and constructed Angkor Wat, its priests and princes came to cultivate and control all of mainland Southeast Asia. Today Thailand, Laos, Vietnam and Cambodia all toil within the rhythms inherited from that Hindu rain-built civilization. Taking the religions of India fully into their hearts, the Cambodians first consecrated their life-giving river as a second Ganges. As they floated down that heavenly torrent and dispersed along its tributaries, gradually they reclaimed from the mud a constellation of villages that grew into basin chiefdoms bountiful enough to crown Chinese empresses with the electric blue of their kingfishers. And as they calmed the extremes of their seasonal rains, their architecture and their sculpture burgeoned as the convergence of art and nature. Rock turned to flowers, stone carved to water, and whole edifices become meditations upon time and warnings against overestimating one's power. As foreign domination soon loomed, one chief united these river basins into an empire, then had himself consecrated by Hindu magic as its king. Cambodia's kings became not only incarnations of the storm god Indra, but the conduits between the energy of the universe and the fertility of the soil. Bringers of rain and dispersers of ambrosia, these kings soon sought to recreate for themselves heaven on earth. Their temple mountains express a piety and a philosophy which are scarcely apparent but beautifully profound. Through an elaborate and labor-intensive system of hydraulic engineering, the Khmer soon mastered the monsoon, taming the crash of its floodwaters, relieving the cruelty of its drought. And for half a millennium, Cambodia's prosperity will depend upon the maintenance of this mastery and on dispersing its manna to the rice fields. As each succeeding king tried to outdo his predecessors in grandeur and pomposity, and to secure for himself as much merit as could be extracted from his kingdom, his people cleared the forest to make way for new farmland. In a society controlled by priests, and with an economy of exchange distributed through thousands of temples, the Khmer soon came to inhabit the largest pre-industrial city on earth, into whose center imperial Rome would have fit with ease. Expanding the circle of their karma over mountain ranges and drainage plains, as their growing wealth was spent on enlarging their watery heaven and on trumpeting their kingly claims to divinity, the Cambodian imagination conceived some of the most incredible temples, including the largest religious building ever constructed. But their power, as existence itself, was built on an illusion. When, as before, the climate began to change, their hubris brought almost instant decline and total oblivion. Less than a century after the construction of its most enormous temples, the civilization disappeared from history so completely that nobody remembers its name. Today we call its most magnificent remnant Angkor Wat, a name given to it in a language it never spoke, centuries after only it was left unreclaimed by the jungle. Almost nothing of this civilization remains. No literature, no paintings, no manuscripts. Cambodian history is scarce in sources, tentative in inference, mysterious in outline. But the one thing it has left behind, in enchanting abundance, are its stones, effaced by the rain of whose control they boast, half engulfed by nature, everywhere rent by time. Upon these melancholy surfaces may still be read the intertwining of Cambodia's prosperity with the seeds of its downfall. Without science, without machines, without philosophers, they couldn't have known that in striving always to increase the wealth of the wealthy and the power only of those who claimed already to control the universe, above all by counting on a stable environment on a volatile planet, ignorance may be granted to them in knowing not that time, the mighty destroyer of all, was ready and eager to return them to the dust. But we, who yet build in opposition to nature, and who sacrifice the well-being of the many for the monstrous wealth of the few, we who have so much information and such little regard for wisdom, have no excuse. Our hubris will likewise be our doom, if we continue to ignore the lessons which these strange and strangled stones have to teach. The history of ancient Cambodia, though glimpsable only through forest shadow, and beneath the shrieking cicadas now barely audible, contains invaluable lessons in fragility, symbiosis, humility, and on the madness of trying everywhere to overpower the natural world. In order to reach those warnings, so remote among the ruins, in order to hear their mournful words among the bird calls and the torrent rush, let's trace the course of that history, however enjungled it might be, and find out exactly which lessons might be derived from a faithful study of the Stones of Angkor.